This book is also called, Blow Up the Blue Silver Grass Martial Soul and Play Mu Dun in Douluo. Lin Shu unexpectedly crossed the Douluo Continent and awakened the dark blue silver grass martial soul at the beginning, possessing innate low-level soul power. Originally thought to have the devouring attribute of the dark blue silver grass, one could follow the path of an evil soul master, rapidly grow by devouring life energy, and become an evil god in the blue silver grass realm. Unexpectedly, the dark blue silver grass soul had extremely weak devouring ability before attaching a soul ring, and could only devour blue silver grass that belonged to the same lineage as itself. Since that's the case, then blow up the dark blue silver grass soul and let every cell in the body devour the original fragments of the soul, replacing the dark blue silver grass as the soul. From then on, Lin Shu's weapon soul, the dark blue silver grass, became a permanent possession, and as a result, he became a vegetative. Wood done in fire shadow, forest fruit in pirates, plant magic in full-time mages. Lin Shu, who has become a vegetative, plays with various abilities related to plants. Keywords of the novel. Blow up the blue silver grass martial soul, no pop-ups in Douluo as a plant. Blow up the blue silver grass martial soul, download the complete text of Douluo as a plant. Blow up the blue silver grass martial soul, and read the latest chapter in Douluo as a plant. Chapter 1. Lin Shu and the Abandoned Martial Soul Blue Silver Grass. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1 Lin Shu and the Abandoned Martial Soul Blue Silver Grass. Douluo Continent. Tiendo Empire, Fasno Province. Holy Soul Village. On an open field. 4-year-old Tang San, holding a small rice bag in his hand, looked curiously at the village elder Jack and a group of children. Old Jack's voice suddenly sounded, "Children, this is the Soul Master from Nodding City, Su Yuntao, Master Su. Next, he will lead you to open your own martial souls. You must cooperate well with Master Su to awaken your martial souls. Grandpa looks forward to someone among you who can become a soul master." "Alright, old Jack, you said the same thing last year," Su Yuntao said impatiently. "Is it really that easy to become a soul master? I have already walked through 6 villages, and there is no one with soul power, nor is there a suitable martial soul." Old Jack's eyes showed a hint of sadness as he shook his head and sighed. "Yes. Only the inheritors of various major sects are the easiest to become soul masters. It's really difficult for us ordinary people. Anyway, today is the day that determines fate. Children, Grandpa believes every year that another soul saint will emerge from Holy Soul Village. Go in. Lin Shu, you too." As he spoke, old Jack pushed the 8 children who had just turned 6 into the wooden house ahead. Su Yuntao followed closely behind. Old Jack stood outside, staring at the closed door. After a moment, he noticed Tang San standing beside him for a long time and chuckled, "Little San. Is it because we run out of rice at home and want to borrow it from Grandpa?" Tang San nodded awkwardly and asked curiously, "Grandpa Jack, who was that uncle just now? He looks very skilled. It seems like he also came to our village last year." "That is Master Su Yuntao, who is responsible for the annual martial soul awakening ceremony in the nearby village for free. Xiao San, in another 2 years, you will also awaken your own martial soul like Lin Shu and the others. If you have soul power, you may become a respected soul master in the future." As he spoke, old Jack gazed eagerly at the wooden house ahead. Inside the house, Su Yuntao asked the 8 children who followed him to stand in a row and said seriously, "Let me introduce myself again. My name is Su Yuntao, a level 24 soul master, and I am your guide. Now, I will awaken your martial souls one by one. Remember, no matter what happens later, don't be afraid. I will not harm you." Upon hearing the name Su Yuntao, Lin Shu, standing in the children's queue, smiled knowingly. Since he arrived in Douluo Continent wearing it, he has been looking forward to the arrival of this day. 2 months ago, Lin Shu was still a weak boy on Blue Star, and his biological parents abandoned him from a young age. Fortunately, at that time, Lin Shu already had a certain ability to live on his own, and he didn't need anyone to take care of him. He worked in a small restaurant and worked as a child laborer under the name of the restaurant owner's son. He managed to endure until he was 18 years old, and only then did his life get back on track. Lin Shu, who is 18 years old, has never attended school or learned any art. Thanks to the restaurant owner teaching him some skills in stir-frying and cooking, he was able to find a chef's job. However, he encountered obstacles everywhere due to his own experience and personality issues. He worked as a chef at a small restaurant and was constantly frustrated. He resigned because he lacked education and couldn't find a good job. In life, Lin Shu always encounters various unpleasant things, but he can withstand them all. He has experienced many hardships since childhood, and has also received many cold looks and ridicule. He has endured until the age of 18, and he thinks there are no setbacks to defeat him. Until he died in an accident, Lin Shu reflected on himself and realized that a poor person must have something to hate. While it was wrong for his biological parents to abandon him, there were also issues with his personality. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had no friends and would have been frustrated every day, living like an unlucky monster. It was also due to a sudden accident that Lin Shu accidentally got dressed in Douluo Continent. He originally thought he would live in Douluo Continent as an 18-year-old blue star person, without his own martial soul bloodline, and had already missed the optimal age for martial soul awakening. From then on, he lived a more difficult life in another world. But unexpectedly, a system changed his life. Affected by this system, Lin Shu changed from being 18 years old to his appearance at the age of 6, and his physical functions also returned to their state at the age of 6. Later, the system detected that it was bound to a traveler from another world, not the Douluo world. Lin Shu died at the same time with the same name and surname as another world traveler, and even the cause of death was the same, so a binding error occurred. After explaining the situation, the system decided to unbind and return to its true host. However, before leaving, the system helped Lin Shu learn the language and writing of Douluo world, and also gave birth to the martial soul bloodline of Douluo Continent in his body. So, 2 months have passed. Lin Shu didn't know what kind of martial soul bloodline that system had given him, but since it was the system that made the move, the martial soul bloodline was also top-notch, right? It would be great if one could awaken a spatial attribute martial soul called the Chamber of Secrets. Practicing and living in the secret room, the martial soul in the secret room is one's home in Douluo Continent, a secret base where one is locked up and no one can disturb. In the future, give yourself a title and call it the Chamber of Secrets Douluo. This is the first time that Lin Shu is full of various fantasies and expectations about his future. When he regained his senses from his reverie, Su Yuntao had already possessed himself as a lone wolf, and the white and yellow soul rings were rhythmically moving up and down his body. Among the 8 people in a row, 3 children have completed their martial soul awakening and tested their soul power. The same scene continued to unfold, and 4 more children's martial souls successfully awakened. Their martial souls were all agricultural tools such as hoes and sickles, or standard abandoned martial souls like blue silver grass. Not a single beast martial soul appeared, and as for soul power, it was judged by Su Yuntao as none. Finally, it was the last child, Lin Shu, who had already turned 6 years old. Stepping into the center of the 6 black stones awakening array ahead, Lin Shu said to Su Yuntao, "Master, I'm ready. Let's start." "Okay, child, you're the last one. I hope you can surprise me," Su Yuntao said as he quickly clapped his hands and injected 6 faint green lights into the 6 black stones on the ground. Suddenly, a layer of golden radiance was released from the 6 stones, forming a pale golden light shield that enveloped Lin Shu's entire body. "Child, don't be afraid, extend your right hand." Following Su Yuntao's instructions, Lin Shu instinctively extended his right hand and a small grass bloomed in his palm. That is a small grass that appears dark blue all over, with 2 light black leaves growing at the top, swaying in the wind. After staying in Douluo Continent for 2 months, Lin Shu vaguely felt that the black grass sprouting from his right palm seemed to have been seen somewhere before. Quickly, he remembered that this kind of grass was called blue-silver grass, which could be seen everywhere in the village, just like the green grass on a blue star covering the mountains and fields. Apart from its strong vitality, it had no other special features. Blue-silver grass. Is this my Wulin? Lin Shu couldn't believe his eyes. The black grass fluttering in his palm had the same shape as blue-silver grass except for its black color. It was a standard ghost. Is this the martial soul bloodline gifted by the system? Even if you don't have a top-level martial soul, it's okay to have a food-based martial soul. At least you have a culinary skill and can spend the rest of your life as a chef in Douluo Continent. The various knowledge mentioned in the original work quickly flashed through his brain, and Lin Shu was shocked to understand that perhaps the martial soul bloodline gifted by the system was related to the surrounding environment. Staying in a place with a lot of blue-silver grass for a long time, the newly acquired martial soul bloodline will be influenced by the external blue-silver grass breath, thus giving birth to the blue-silver grass martial soul. Or is it that the martial soul bloodline gifted by the system is random, and people from Douluo Continent have the highest probability of awakening the blue-silver grass martial soul, so they also awakened the blue-silver grass themselves? No matter what speculation he made, Lin Shu was only disappointed in his heart. He felt that he was a thoroughly unlucky person, and everything he did had to go through ups and downs, but in the end, no good thing ever happened to him. 2 months of anticipation, all illusions about the future are shattered at this moment. Lin Shu gritted his teeth unwillingly. It was not the first time he had complained, and in repeated setbacks, it was not the first time he had seen hope turn into disappointment. Looking back on the various frustrations on the Blue Star, and now wearing Douluo Continent, Lin Shu even began to become desperate, resurrecting from death. Is it just to be an ordinary person in the fantasy world and continue to endure various unwillingness and helplessness that are not as desired? Blue-silver grass. It's another useless martial soul, Su Yuntao frowned. Why is this child's blue-silver grass black? Has it been mutated? The light inside the room gradually dimmed, and Su Yuntao released the possession of the lone wolf and withdrew the 2 soul rings under his feet. He smiled and said, "Child. Your martial soul is blue-silver grass, or rather a mutated blue-silver grass. Come, let me test if you have soul power. If you have soul power, even blue-silver grass can be cultivated. Developing towards food-based soul masters and becoming a food for some vegetarian beast martial soul masters is also good." End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Dark Blue-Silver Grass. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Dark Blue-Silver Grass Mutated Blue-Silver Grass. After listening to Su Yuntao's talk, Lin Shu finally realized that the blue-silver grass he was holding was black, and at this moment, the 2 leaves of this black blue-silver grass were flickering with a strong black halo. It seems like inner unwillingness and disappointment, the more negative emotions there are, the stronger the halo released by the leaves of the black blue-silver grass. It's devouring my negative emotions. Lin Shu stared in surprise at the black blue-silver grass in his hand. He recalled a blue-silver grass that had mutated into a dark attribute during the Peerless Tang sect period of the original work, possessing extremely strong devouring ability. Is the awakened blue-silver grass soul also a type of blue-silver grass with devouring properties? Come, test your innate soul power. Su Yuntao handed the blue crystal ball to Lin Shu and gestured for him to place his right hand on it. Lin Shu retracted the black blue-silver grass in his hand and placed his palm against the blue crystal ball. After a moment, Su Yuntao said somewhat disappointed, "You don't have soul power. You can't become a soul master. Unfortunately, my child, a useless martial soul is ultimately a useless martial soul. Even if it mutates, it just becomes even more useless." Su Yuntao suddenly exclaimed in surprise, and upon closer inspection, he realized that the crystal ball seemed to emit light. Although very faint, it also represents a sign of soul power in the child in front of us. Half-level soul power, first-level soul power. No, now the radiance is even stronger than first-level soul power. It's an innate second level. Su Yuntao suddenly changed his tone. Child, I'll take back what I said earlier. Even if it's only second-level soul power, you can still practice. After breaking through the 10th level soul power and obtaining the first soul ring, you still have a chance to become a soul master. Upon hearing this, Lin Shu did not show much disappointment, but instead had a surprised expression on his face and an unexpected expression in his eyes. In his opinion, it is normal to add soul-free power to the useless martial soul when plagued by bad luck. So when he heard about his innate second-level soul power, he felt as if he had won a big prize. Even if it was just innate second-level soul power, it was enough to make his repeatedly frustrated mood burst into tears of joy. The awakening of the martial soul is over, and the door to the wooden house opens. Tang San had already rushed back to the blacksmith's shop to prepare breakfast for his father after borrowing rice. Old Jack is the only one left outside the house. As Su Yuntao walked out of the house with the children, Old Jack nervously greeted him and asked anxiously, "Master, how are you? Is it possible for the children in our village to become soul masters this year?" Su Yuntao nodded somewhat disappointed and said, "One of them, I asked his name, Lin Shu. The other 7 children have no soul power and cannot become soul masters. Lin Shu's innate soul power is second level, but unfortunately, his martial soul is blue-silver grass. I am just a second-level innate soul power. Like Lin Shu, if he can awaken his scythe or whole martial soul, he may be able to cultivate to my level in the future." Sigh. Forget it. Congratulations. Old Jack, at least someone in your village can become a soul master. At this point, Su Yuntao glanced at Lin Shu and curiously asked, "This child shouldn't be from your holy soul village, right?" Old Jack nodded and said, "Lin Shu was picked up by me outside the village 2 months ago. According to him, his parents were both eaten by soul beasts, homeless, and he had no relatives. I saw him pitiful, and he happened to be at the age of awakening his martial soul. So I left him in the village to participate in the awakening." "So it's like this," Su Yuntao said thoughtfully. Perhaps Lin Shu's innate second-level soul power was due to a mutation in the blue-silver grass's martial soul. At night. A small hill 100 meters away from Holy Soul Village. The bright moonlight shone on the hills, enveloping the surrounding plants in a faint silver color. The gentle breeze brushed over, and the shadows of the trees swayed. Lin Shu stood alone in the open space under the hill, lifting his right hand and releasing his martial soul with his mind. A black blue-silver grass emerged from his palm like an illusion. Although this was the 100th time he had summoned a martial soul in a day, the excitement in his heart remained undiminished. 2 months ago, Lin Shu was just an ordinary blue star person, but now he is a superhero who may have cultivated extraordinary abilities. Playing with the black blue-silver grass martial soul in his hand, Lin Shu felt that it was a dream. But all of this was too real, and what impressed him the most was soul power. Even if he currently only has second-level soul power, it is enough to make him clearly feel the strengthening that soul power brings to his body. If it were 2 months ago, Lin Shu ran 100 meters in 12 seconds. Now, with the nourishment of this second-level soul power, he can complete a 100-meter sprint in about 9 seconds, swing 5 fists in 1 second, and 3 seconds. As an ordinary person who lacks exercise, having the running and punching speed of professional athletes on Blue Star is a body strengthened by soul power and martial soul. Therefore, Lin Shu, a person from a different world, can adapt to the environment of the Douluo world and practice as a soul master. No mistake, this blue-silver grass has indeed mutated into a devouring attribute. Lin Shu held the black blue-silver grass in his hand and carefully examined the 2 black leaves that blue-silver grass only had. Whenever he intentionally evokes dirty thoughts or dark emotions in his heart, the color of this black blue-silver grass martial soul becomes even more brilliant. At the same time, the dirty thoughts and dark emotions in Lin Shu's heart will gradually fade away and eventually disappear completely. It is obvious that this black blue-silver grass can devour the darkness and even various evil thoughts of the human heart. If negative emotions such as anger, hatred, and jealousy persist in the heart, this black blue-silver grass will become more active and have greater potential. Dark blue-silver grass is a plant-type martial soul that mutates into a dark attribute due to the negative emotions in the soul master's heart. The black blue-silver grass held by Lin Shu is precisely the dark blue-silver grass with dark attributes. It not only has strong vitality, but also can devour the vitality of other life forms and transform it into its own energy. What does this mean? Lin Shu has read the original work and knows that the cultivation speed of soul masters is not only related to their own talents, but also to the environment they are in. Therefore, many advanced soul master academies or sect families have established simulated environment training centers. Mimictic cultivation refers to simulating the growth environment of soul beasts corresponding to martial souls, allowing soul masters to cultivate their martial souls in the most suitable environment for themselves. For example, plant-based soul masters can have a certain auxiliary effect when practicing in forests or places with numerous plants. Food-based soul masters will also assist in cultivating the atmosphere in the restaurant kitchen. Soul masters with fire attributes can practice in volcanoes or high-temperature environments, while soul masters with thunder attributes can practice in areas with strong electric fields. As long as it is a place with a high matching degree of martial soul attributes, it can have unexpected auxiliary effects on the cultivation of soul masters. Lin Shu was thinking that if he could cultivate in a place where blue-silver grass grew everywhere, with the devouring ability of his dark attribute, he would definitely be able to devour all the energy of the blue-silver grass. The process of devouring the energy of blue-silver grass is like Tang San absorbing a large amount of blue-silver grass energy to awaken the blue-silver emperor's martial soul in the original work. However, as the subjects of the blue-silver emperor, those blue-silver grasses voluntarily sacrificed their own energy to Tang San. And Lin Shu's dark blue-silver grass forcibly devours the energy of other blue-silver grass. There is no need to worry about excessively devouring the blue-silver grass and causing this soul beast to become extinct, because wildfires cannot burn out and spring breeze blows again. Blue-silver grass has strong vitality. After being consumed by the dark blue-silver grass, it will take root and sprout again after a few springs. More conveniently, the blue-silver grass can be seen everywhere, just like the green grass on the blue star. No matter where you are, it is an excellent place for the dark blue-silver grass soul master to practice. Lin Shu felt lucky. Even if he only had innate second-level soul power, if he relied on the dark blue-silver grass to devour other blue-silver grass for cultivation, his cultivation speed would not be inferior to that of a soul master with innate high soul power. However, how should the devouring ability of dark blue-silver grass be used? Carnivorous plants can use their mouth-like leaves to devour other living organisms. Can the dark blue-silver grass not have similar plant organs? How can a few-inch tall grass devour other life without attaching any soul rings? Lin Shu didn't care much about it either. He sat cross-legged on the ground, palms pressed against the back of his hands, eyes closed and focused. He first used the meditation method mentioned by Master Su Yuntao to cultivate soul power, and then slowly studied the devouring attribute of the dark blue-silver grass. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. The devouring ability of dark blue-silver grass. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The devouring ability of dark blue-silver grass meditation can transform the natural energy absorbed by the martial soul from the outside into its own soul power. A soul master with high martial soul quality usually has higher innate soul power, and the speed at which natural energy is absorbed from the outside world is faster, making cultivation easier. A useless martial soul like blue-silver grass has extremely poor quality, and Lin Shu himself is a lower-level innate talent. If he only relies on meditation to cultivate, perhaps 5 years later his soul power may not be able to break through level 10 and obtain the first soul ring. So, learning how to use devouring ability for cultivation is very important for him. The black-blue-silver grass swayed in the palm of his hand, and as his spiritual power became more concentrated, Lin Shu entered a meditative state. He felt like he had open perspective, and could ignore the obstacles around him, clearly seeing every blue-silver grass growing within a radius of tens of meters. This was a feeling he had never experienced before, perhaps because after awakening the bloodline of blue-silver grass, his perception of the same breath as blue-silver grass became stronger. Air with a plant fragrance flows in from the nose, and the skin feels the surrounding temperature. The sound of the wind at night, as well as the chirping of insects and birds, are transmitted through the ears. Lin Shu sat quietly, as if everything around him had become empty and quiet. He was feeling the movement within a radius of several tens of meters with his heart. Each blue-silver grass emits a strong aura of life, and the energy fluctuations of the blue-silver grass attract the dark blue-silver grass held by Lin Shu. Although the second-level soul power is very weak and can be injected into the dark blue-silver grass soul, it makes the dark blue-silver grass soul extremely active, and the 2 black leaves on the stem release a faint dark aura. The dark aura spreads with the wind, like dandelions flying away, with little black light gently falling on every blue-silver grass around them. At the same time, Lin Shu can not only perceive the presence of these blue-green-silver grasses, but also perceive the vitality emitted by each blue-green-silver herb through the black light on its leaves. The surging breath of life not only lured the dark blue-silver grass, but also made Lin Shu's heart greedy. If he swallowed up these surging breath of life around him, what unexpected benefits would happen? It was the first time Lin Shu had this wonderful feeling, and it was also the first time he had been exposed to such a magical power. However, he still didn't know how to activate the elemental attributes inherent in the martial soul. After several attempts, Lin Shu finally understood that to activate a certain ability of the martial soul, he only needed to control it with his mind, just like releasing and retrieving the martial soul. With a movement of thought, the devouring ability of the dark attribute is activated. I saw the black light staining every leaf of the bluegrass, gradually transforming into a dark aura. Immediately after, the blue-silver grass that had been tainted with the dark atmosphere showed signs of withering and exhaustion. Centered around Lin Shu, spreading outwards, one after another, the vitality of the blue-silver grass gradually weakens, and its leaves turn from light blue to gray. Finally, due to its energy being drained by the dark atmosphere, it rots and dissipates into star spots. After about 3 hours, the blue-silver grass within a radius of several tens of meters was swallowed up by the dark aura released by the dark blue-silver grass, and the surrounding open space became barren. Lin Shu found that his body's energy was slightly fuller than before, and the dark blue-silver grass martial soul seemed to be affected by the devoured energy. The stem was pulled up 1 inch, and the 2 black leaves on the stem doubled in size, giving an overall appearance of significant growth. The disappearing blue-silver grass around has indeed been devoured by the dark aura. Their energy has been converted into my soul power and the martial soul source energy of the dark blue-silver grass. While practicing with my dark thoughts just now, I should also be practicing by devouring blue-silver grass. This has increased the amount of energy I have absorbed from the outside world. Moreover, blue-silver grass and dark blue-silver grass belong to the same lineage, and the energy consumed does not even require me to actively absorb it before it becomes my soul power. Lin Shu could clearly feel that the dark blue-silver grass in his hand contained a greater vitality than before, and the dark aura was also slightly stronger. After devouring the surrounding large area of blue-silver grass, the life attributes and devouring ability of dark blue-silver grass have both grown. Although the soul power level has not changed, Lin Shu can feel the increase in energy inside his body. When this energy reaches its maximum value, there should be an increase in soul power level. The devouring attribute of the dark blue silver grass can replace the dark mind to cultivate soul power. Suppressing the joy in his heart, Lin Shu stood up and walked straight along the forest path ahead. He remembered that many places nearby were growing a large amount of blue silver grass. These useless weeds in the eyes of outsiders are the most precious cultivation resources of dark blue silver grass. Arriving at a new open space, Lin Shu glanced at it and saw blue silver grass of varying heights everywhere. The vigorous breath of life wafts out from the leaves of each blue silver grass. Lin Shu immediately sat cross-legged on the ground, holding the dark blue silver grass martial soul in his hands. At this moment, he was like a hungry sheep that had been hungry for several days, starting to devour the surrounding blue silver grass crazily. However, this time he vaguely felt that the speed of the dark blue silver grass devouring the blue silver grass had slowed down. 1 hour later. Lin Shu slowly opened his eyes, with a puzzled expression in his eyes. He couldn't understand why he had devoured the surrounding blue silver grass in the same way. The previous time was so smooth, but this time there was a problem. The surrounding blue silver grass, except for some shorter ones that were engulfed by the dark atmosphere, the relatively higher ones were intact, as if their devouring ability had no effect on them. Is the blue silver grass of different heights different in cultivation? Lin Shu only learned some settings about soul beasts from the original work, and did not systematically learn about soul beast knowledge. So he couldn't distinguish the specific cultivation years of each blue silver grass. But generally speaking, the higher and more lush the same plant grows, the longer it naturally lives. Lin Shu believes that those relatively tall and larger blue silver grasses will have higher cultivation levels. And those shorter blue silver grasses have lower cultivation. The devouring of the dark blue silver grass is actually the process of a big fish swallowing a small fish and a small fish swallowing shrimp. Can only devour weaker life forms than it. So, the blue silver grass with lower cultivation levels around was swallowed up by the dark blue silver grass, while the blue silver grass with higher cultivation levels was unharmed. Lin Shu stood up and continued straight along the forest path ahead, intending to find a place where even the blue silver grass didn't look high to verify his hypothesis. If the conjecture is true, it can also help him better understand the devouring ability of the dark blue silver grass. Lin Shu found a grassland, where the blue silver grass on the ground was only the height of one index finger. It looked like a seedling, with a clearly low cultivation level. Perhaps they were just ordinary blue silver grass, not soul beasts. After activating the devouring attribute of the dark blue silver grass, these blue silver grass seedlings all perished due to their own energy being consumed. Looking for another grassland, the blue silver grass growing here is almost knee-high, and the leaves are very lush. Some of the leaves have twisted into the shape of vines, so their cultivation level should be higher. Similarly, activating the devouring attribute of the dark blue silver grass, Lin Shu discovered that although these tall blue silver grasses were stained with a dark aura, there were no signs of life exhaustion, which meant that the dark aura could not devour any energy from them. After comparing before and after, Lin Shu felt that his conjecture was correct. The devouring ability of the dark blue silver grass could only devour the weaker blue silver grass. Moreover, Lin Shu also found that the dark blue silver grass can only devour this plant, while other plants such as flowers and trees, and even dog-tail grass and dandelion, the dark blue silver grass cannot devour them. Because the blue silver grass itself is low-grade and fragile, without attaching any soul rings, it can only adapt to the surrounding environment with grievances and compromise. It is impossible to harm or threaten other plants, let alone devour them. In the original Peerless Tang sect, Tangya's dark blue silver grass martial soul has such a powerful devouring ability because at that time her martial soul had already attached 3 soul rings, and the martial soul attribute that had been enhanced by these 3 soul rings was of course powerful. And my own dark blue silver grass has just awakened. Currently, my soul power is only level 2, without soul rings or dark cultivation techniques. At best, it is just a special useless martial soul blue-silver grass. How could it have too strong devouring ability? With a dejected sigh in his heart, Lin Shu stood up and gazed with some disappointment at the tall and lush blue-silver grass in front of him. He originally thought he could find ways to cultivate soul power beyond the dark thoughts, but he didn't expect the devouring ability of the dark blue-silver grass to be so limited. At present, it can only devour ordinary blue-silver grass that is not a soul beast, and how much life energy can such a weak blue-silver grass have to devour? How much more does it take to devour in order to quickly increase soul power? This is like a huge whale soul beast opening its mouth and swallowing a group of small shrimp. How much does it take to improve 1 year's cultivation? Continue practicing. The main method is to devour the blue-silver grass, supplemented by meditation. Practice makes perfect, and perhaps you can find a way to combine the two for cultivation. With a comforting words in his heart, Lin Shu quickly regained his composure and sat down in the open space to meditate. He felt that he needed to first become familiar with using meditation techniques to cultivate, as this was the foundation for soul masters to cultivate soul power. The sects and forces in Douluo Continent may have some more advanced soul power cultivation methods. And this method of cultivation may have been developed based on the foundation of meditation. The next day. Under the hills, in the woods. One night passed like this. The sky is just beginning to dawn. Lin Shu opened his eyes and a thin little boy flashed past his afterglow. After several jumps, the thin little boy had climbed up the mountaintop from the foot of the mountain to start a new day of cultivation. Lin Shu knew that the skinny little boy who had just climbed the mountain was Tang San, who was 4 years old. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Restoration Ability of Dark Blue-Silver Grass. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The restoration ability of dark blue-silver grass. 2 months ago, he was picked up by the village chief Old Jack and returned to Holy Soul Village. After learning that there was a blacksmith named Tang Hao in the village, Lin Shu finally understood that it was now the D period. Tang Sangang had traveled from Tangmen to Douluo Continent and knew nothing about soul masters, soul beasts, and soul power. The only techniques and hidden weapons that Tang San is interested in are those brought from the Tang sect in his past life. Hurriedly climbing up the mountaintop, Tang San wanted to use the purple energy of early morning sunlight to cultivate Tang sect's eye technique, the purple extreme demon eye. These pieces of information were not personally told to Lin Shu by Tang San. During these 2 months, Lin Shu spent most of his time following the adults in the village to bring crops to Nodding City for trading. So he is not familiar with the children in the village. Being so clear about Tang San's every move was naturally learned through the original work. Lin Shu also knew from the original work that 2 years later, Tang San would awaken the blue-silver grass martial soul. In the future, Tang San's blue-silver grass can directly awaken into a top-level plant-based martial soul, the blue-silver emperor, without going through long and arduous cultivation. The original work once said that all the lineages of blue-silver grass are descendants of the blue-silver emperor, and dark blue-silver grass is no exception. The blue-silver emperor is always in the same lineage, and only when the previous blue-silver emperor passes away will the next blue-silver emperor appear. If other blue-silver grass soul masters want their blue-silver grass to evolve into a blue-silver emperor, they must compete with Tang San for the blue-silver emperor's bloodline. A resolute expression flashed in Lin Shu's eyes, as he felt that he not only wanted to compete with Tang San for bloodline, but also for the opportunity of the immortal grass in the eyes of ice and fire. On the Blue Star, Lin Shu was fed up with the days of unwillingness and unwillingness. After finally arriving at Douluo Continent and having the possibility of cultivation, how could he be willing to live such a helpless and passive life in his future? As both travelers and those familiar with the original plot, Lin Shu was even more unwilling to see Tang San ascend to the divine realm in the future, while he himself died in the mortal world. Since you are unwilling, then work hard to fight for it. Lin Shu does not have the same level of cheating and immortal knowledge as Tang San, but being familiar with the original work is his biggest advantage. If he wants to compete with Tang San for the opportunities mentioned in the original work, it may not be a foolish dream. However, the most important thing now is to find a higher level soul power cultivation method as soon as possible. Otherwise, by the time Tang San obtains the opportunity of the immortal grass, if he has not yet broken through the level 10 soul power, then he will be truly daydreaming. In the morning. Old Jack's house. The breakfast on the table was not very rich: porridge, vegetables and mantou. Xiao Shu, do you know what a soul master is? Old Jack asked with a smile as he ate breakfast. Lin Shu drank a bowl of porridge, nodded, shook his head, and pretended to understand something. When delivering goods to Notting City with Uncle Meng, I saw people fighting on the roadside. I heard that they were soul masters. Except for Wu Soul, they all had a white circle. Grandpa Jack, what was that? That white circle is called the soul ring. Isn't there also a yellow circle on Master Su Yuntao's body? And there is also a yellow circle. This means that Master Su Yuntao is a second ring soul master. Old Jack smiled and said, you are an innate second level soul power. Although your martial soul is blue silver grass, you can also cultivate it. In the future, you will also have such a white circle on your body. At that time, you can call yourself a soul master. Xiao Shu, would you be willing to go to a specialized college to learn the cultivation methods of soul masters? Upon hearing the word, cultivation method, Lin Shu nodded excitedly and said, Grandpa Jack, I want to learn the cultivation method of a soul master. But I don't have the money to go to school. Old Jack chuckled and said, there is a quota for working-class students in the village every year. After all, only you can cultivate this year's children. Grandpa can leave this quota for you. If you can cultivate to the same level as Master Su Yuntao, it can also be considered as giving Grandpa a long face. Lin Shu stood up from the chair, bowed slightly to Old Jack, and said in a childish tone, Grandpa Jack, thank you. Okay, let's have breakfast quickly. After finishing, we'll go practice. Old Jack rubbed Lin Shu's head and instructed, the Junior Soul Master Academy in Notting City won't start for 3 months. Xiao Shu, you don't have to go to Notting City with Uncle Meng to deliver goods during this time. Practice well, Grandpa still hopes you can become a soul master soon. I will try my best, answered Lin Shu. He finished a bowl of congee in a hurry, wiped his mouth and ran to the door. Arriving at the small hill outside the Holy Soul Village, Lin Shu began a new day of cultivation. He didn't rush to find a place with plenty of blue-silver grass to sit down and meditate like he did yesterday, but instead started running around the small hill. This small hill is about the width of a standard football field, and Lin Shu did not set a limit on how many laps he should run. Whenever he was exhausted, he would make himself run a few more laps to finish. After running, take a break and start simple physical training, such as push-ups, sit-ups, pole lifts and horse steps, as well as mountain climbing and downhill. Without the blessing of martial arts, Lin Shu found it difficult to climb a hill several hundred meters high in the physical state of an ordinary 6-year-old child. However, this is not a difficult training to complete. The most difficult task is to climb to the mountaintop, and when my energy is almost exhausted, I have to run down from the mountaintop several hundred meters away. This not only requires strong willpower and endurance to persist, but also requires constant attention to obstacles such as stones and trees along the way when running down the mountain. Of course, Lin Shu is not that stupid. At the beginning of the training, he chose some relatively spacious and flat roads to run down the mountain, and did not deliberately look for those mountain roads with more stones and trees. After all, safety is the most important. Despite this, Lin Shu still miscalculated because his stamina was exhausted and his legs were weak. When he ran down the mountain, he accidentally fell and rolled down the slope with inertia. Rolling all the way to a pile of grass at the foot of the mountain, scaring away a few birds, Lin Shu finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there are no stones or other hard objects on the slope, otherwise touching the head would definitely be a significant injury. Stumbling up from the grass, Lin Shu's whole body was trembling and his legs and feet were twitching, which was a signal of physical exhaustion after intense physical activity. Lin Shu also found that when rolling down the mountain slope, he had severe abrasions on his face, arms, palms, and other body parts, and his left hand was slightly painful with obvious dislocations. With his right hand supporting his left, Lin Shu walked awkwardly back to a clearing at the foot of the mountain. The first time he came into contact with the system of the fantasy world, he thought that with the magical power of soul power, he could achieve many things that were impossible on the blue star. Obviously, this idea is too naive. There are many problems with the current exercise methods. Even with the strengthening of soul power, a 6-year-old body cannot engage in such frequent and dangerous exercise. Sitting on the ground, Lin Shu closed his eyes and focused, beginning to cultivate his soul power. After entering a meditative state, his breathing became less rapid and his restless mood calmed down. With a movement of thought, the dark blue silver grass martial soul is released. This time, the dark blue silver grass did not bloom from Lin Shu's hand, but rather one after another, black blue silver grass rose from the ground around his body. Every black silver grass releases a strong sense of darkness and life. The increasingly calm heart made Lin Shu clearly perceive the fluctuations of the surrounding atmosphere. He knew that these darkness and vitality came from his martial soul, rather than the ordinary blue silver grass growing nearby. A gentle breeze blew away the dark aura lingering around Lin Shu. The dark aura spreading with the wind, like dandelions flying away, turns into dots of black light and falls on the surrounding leaves of the bluegrass. Under the influence of the dark atmosphere, the vitality of these blue-silver grasses gradually weakens, withers and weakens, and finally disappears in place. As before, the surrounding blue-silver grass was engulfed by the dark aura of the dark blue-silver grass. A portion of the devoured life energy converges onto the dark blue-silver grass, becoming the source energy of the martial soul. Most of the life energy converges with the natural energy from the outside into Lin Shu's body, helping him increase the thickness of his soul power. Although there were no signs of soul power improvement, a strange scene appeared on Lin Shu. Scratches on multiple parts of the body, including the face, arms, and palms, gradually healed under the nourishment of the dark atmosphere, and blood stains disappeared from various wounds. Even more strangely, Lin Shu no longer felt any pain in his body, and his dislocated left hand also recovered. Just like receiving some kind of treatment, even exhausted physical strength is rapidly recovering. Lin Shu suddenly opened his eyes, stood up, and stared incredulously at his two palms. The scratch on the palm has disappeared, and the dislocated left hand can move normally. The originally weak and powerless body is now full of energy. The dark aura still lingered around Lin Shu, carrying strong vitality to repair his body, giving him a refreshing feeling. At this moment, Lin Shu remembered that besides the devouring ability of the dark attribute, the dark blue-silver grass also had a strong vitality of the wood attribute. The energy devoured from those blue-silver grasses not only strengthens the dark blue-silver grass's martial soul and body, but also heals various injuries to the body. Lin Shu was pleasantly surprised as he explored every part of his body. The wounds miraculously healed, and his physical strength also recovered significantly. Every part of his body was full of strength. Wildfire cannot burn out, spring breeze blows again, and it has strong vitality, which is the biggest advantage of blue-silver grass. The devouring attribute of dark blue-silver grass is acquired through mutation, and its most powerful and fundamental is still its life attribute. Lin Shu vaguely remembers that during the period of Dui in the original work, there were two plant-type martial souls with very strong life attributes, namely Blue-Silver Emperor and Nine-Heart Begonia. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Theory of Martial Soul Explosion and Mu Dun. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 5. The theory of martial soul explosion and Mu Dun. The life attributes of Jiuxin Hai Tang are mainly reflected in the scope of comprehensive treatment. The life attribute of the Blue-Silver Emperor is more reflected in itself. Unless it is destroyed by being beaten to the divine form or committing suicide, soul masters who possess the Blue-Silver Emperor's martial soul will not truly die. If the soul rings with life attributes are stacked from the beginning, then until the seventh soul ring possesses the true body of the martial soul, the soul master of the Blue-Silver Emperor's martial soul can definitely be called an immortal body. Even if broken to pieces, they can transform into new seedlings of the Blue-Silver Emperor with their tenacious vitality, and then quickly grow with the energy of other Blue-Silver Grass people, ultimately restoring their physical and original cultivation. This is the powerful recovery ability of the Blue-Silver Emperor. In terms of bloodline, dark Blue-Silver Grass cannot be compared to Blue-Silver Emperor, but dark Blue-Silver Grass has devouring properties. Has already possessed excellent recovery capabilities. In addition, the life energy swallowed back from other Blue-Silver Grasses increases one's own recovery speed and amount. These two conditions combined make the recovery ability of the dark Blue-Silver Grass much higher than that of the regular Blue-Silver Grass. And when the dark Blue-Silver Grass evolves into the dark Blue-Silver King, or even upgrades to the top level dark Blue-Silver King, how terrifying will its recovery ability reach? Lin Shu was thinking that after being possessed by the beast martial soul, the soul master's body would possess the characteristics of the beast martial soul. If the dark Blue-Silver Grass could possess a martial soul like a beast soul, wouldn't its body possess the characteristic of a soul beast like the Blue-Silver Grass, which can't be completely burned by wildfire and can grow again when the spring breeze blows? Strong vitality, combined with strong self-regeneration and self-recovery abilities. Perhaps the body will also become a black hole-like entity due to the devouring properties of the dark Blue-Silver Grass. Unfortunately, the dark Blue-Silver Grass belongs to the category of weapon souls and cannot be possessed by beast souls. Unless it is a level 70 martial soul true body, it is impossible for weapon souls to merge with soul masters. Once the true body of the martial soul is activated, the soul master will truly merge with the martial soul, allowing for free switching between the two forms of human and martial soul. In the original work, when Sword Douluo Continent unleashed his martial soul, he did indeed transform from a human appearance into a sword martial soul. Although the form of the martial soul was not maintained for a long time, this is enough to prove that humans can actually become martial souls. In the Peerless Tang sect, there is indeed a physical martial soul that uses the human body as the martial soul. Thinking of this, Lin Shu's eyes lit up. Is there any way to artificially decompose the martial soul into cost source fragments, and then completely integrate the body with these martial soul source fragments, in order to achieve the effect of the body being the martial soul? There really is a way to break down the martial soul into fragments. Lin Shu suddenly remembered that martial souls are not invincible. When facing external energy shocks, if the soul master's martial soul cannot withstand this energy shock, there will be a situation of martial soul fragmentation. The most common thing is when soul masters absorb soul rings, because the energy of the soul ring is too large, the quality of the martial soul is low, and the soul master's own quality is not strong enough, it is very likely to cause the martial soul to explode, and even the danger of the soul master's body exploding in death. The soul master died due to insufficient physical strength, while the martial soul exploded due to the low quality of the martial soul. Lin Shu thought to himself, what would happen if he were to blow up his dark Blue-Silver Grass martial soul into pieces while his physical fitness was strong enough? Martial soul is the foundation of soul master cultivation. Soul masters who experience an explosion in their martial soul, even if they survive by chance. Without their martial soul, they will only become useless people who cannot practice. However, this is for ordinary soul masters. Lin Shu is also an ordinary soul master, but the dark Blue-Silver Grass martial soul, which has both strong recovery power and a certain devouring ability, is not ordinary. Based on the characteristics of the dark blue silver grass martial soul and the principle of the true body of the martial soul, Lin Shu came up with a theory of martial soul explosion. To implement this theory of martial soul explosion, soul masters themselves must meet 3 conditions. The first condition is to have a strong enough physical fitness. The second condition is that there must be a rapid method of treating internal injuries and external injuries. The third condition is that the body must have the ability to devour. Strong physical fitness allows soul masters to minimize damage to their bodies under the destructive energy impact generated by the explosion of martial souls. The ability to quickly treat internal injuries can allow soul masters to quickly repair and heal their bodies damaged by martial soul explosions, in order to avoid serious injuries and death. And the devouring ability allows the soul master's body to devour the fragments of the martial soul's origin generated when the martial soul explodes. When each cell of the body merges with the swallowed fragments of the martial soul's origin, the soul master's body replaces the broken martial soul and becomes a human form of the martial soul. This is the same principle as when using the true body of the martial soul. The soul master will absorb the dissolved essence of the martial soul and transform it into the form of the martial soul. For example, when the sword soul of a sword soul master explodes, the original source of the martial soul becomes fragments and is absorbed by the soul master's body, causing the soul master to replace the sword soul as the martial soul. The body is both a sword and can be used as a weapon soul. Become a swordsman. This is the characteristic of a sword soul master in a martial soul true body state. For example, the original fragments formed by the explosion of the plant martial soul of a plant-type soul master are absorbed by the soul master's body, causing the soul master to replace the plant martial soul into a martial soul. The body is both a plant and can control plants to fight. Becoming a vegetative person is a characteristic of plant soul masters in their true martial soul state. However, since the explosion of the martial soul is irreversible, after the original fragments formed by the soul master and the martial soul explosion are completely fused, they will always maintain a state of fusion between the body and the martial soul, and cannot be released like the true body of the martial soul. If it is impossible to separate the body from the origin of the martial soul, then the soul master becomes an existence where the body is the martial soul. Although it is not yet known what side effects will arise from the permanent fusion of soul masters and martial soul fragments, it can be certain that the theory of martial soul explosion can indirectly transform weapon martial souls into alternative physical martial souls. Of course, this is just a concept, or rather a theory that is fantasized without research and summary. The so-called destruction is rebirth, breaking and then standing, and there is no lack of such examples in the fantasy world. Blowing up the martial soul may not necessarily mean destroying the soul master, but it may also bring a new kind of power to the soul master. Haotian sect has a unique technique of blowing up soul rings. Since the soul ring can be destroyed, so should the martial soul. From this perspective, the theory of martial soul explosion is well founded. As for whether this theory can be verified, it still needs to be practiced by someone. It is impossible for soul masters on the mainland to be willing to use their martial souls and lives to practice such a fanciful theory. So, the practitioners of this theory may only be themselves. With a dejected sigh in his heart, Lin Shu couldn't help but envy Yu Xiaojiang, because Yu Xiaojiang had Tang San, a little white mouse, to help practice theory. Even if the theory was wrong, it would not endanger his own life. However, if Yu Xiaojiang's theory harms Tang San, Tang Hao probably won't let Yu Xiaojiang go, will he? Indeed, it is harmful to others and ultimately to oneself. It is better to rely on oneself than on others. Lin Shu was thinking that the only person on the mainland who could practice the theory of martial soul explosion should be himself, because this theory was conceived based on the characteristics of the dark blue silver grass martial soul. For example, in order to destroy a martial soul, one must have a certain level of devouring ability, strong recovery ability, and excellent physical fitness. Soul masters can improve their physical fitness through exercise, but apart from the dark blue silver grass, there is really no other martial soul that possesses both devouring ability and strong recovery ability. Transforming the dark blue silver grass martial soul into an alternative physical martial soul is definitely an opportunity for Lin Shu. Even if it cannot change the bloodline of the martial soul, it can at least make the potential of the dark blue silver grass martial soul become as huge as the physical martial soul. For example, after transforming into the dark blue silver grass martial soul, not only can the wildfire burn endlessly like the dark blue silver grass, but it can also activate the wood escape move with a powerful source of life like the 1,000 armed pillars in Naruto. Due to being the dark blue silver grass soul, one can manipulate the blue silver grass as freely as one's own body, shaping it into the desired wooden escape effect. At that time, without the need for seals or any auxiliary techniques, with just a clap of both hands, countless dark blue silver grasses can quickly grow into towering trees and be uprooted, blooming and bearing fruit with strong vitality. Endless dark breath spews out from the flowers, devouring the enemy's vitality. With one more clap of both hands, countless towering trees entwined into countless giant arms of the 1,000-handed Avalokitesvara statue, using thousands of huge fists, like meteorites, to bombard and crush the enemy. If one is qualified to inherit the throne of the Shura god in the future, then the countless towering trees intertwined will not be the 1,000-handed Avalokitesvara statue, but the 1,000-handed Shura god statue. Stepping on the statue of the 1,000-hand Shura and fighting against powerful enemies should be a good experience. Thinking of the numerous film and television works on Blue Star, Lin Shu felt that after replacing dark blue silver grass as a martial soul, he was not limited to creating his own version of Douluo's Mudun. Any moves related to plants could be created by himself. However, the premise of these fantasies is that the theory of martial soul explosion must be established. Otherwise, in order to achieve the effect of integrating oneself with the dark blue silver grass martial soul, one can only wait until the martial soul true body after level 70. The devouring ability and powerful recovery ability inherent in the dark blue silver grass soul already meet the two conditions for practicing the theory of soul explosion. The remaining condition is that Lin Shu himself must have strong physical fitness and tenacious vitality to ensure that he will not be killed in a sudden explosion when the soul explosion occurs. Regardless of whether he will become a practitioner of the theory of martial soul explosion in the future, Lin Shu believes that he should first improve his physical fitness. Because the physical fitness is strong enough to absorb soul rings of high age. Putting aside the theory of martial soul explosion and the concept of the Douluo version of Mudun, Lin Shu sat on the ground and continued to meditate. Now he not only needs to persist in doing exercises to enhance his physical fitness, but also needs to find a more advanced cultivation method that can replace the idea of meditation. Otherwise, with his innate second-level soul power cultivation talent, it will be quite difficult to cultivate, and the cultivation speed will be very slow. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Life Breath Cycle Barrier. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Life Breath Cycle Barrier the next day. In the morning. Since conceptualizing the theory of martial soul explosion and the Douluo version of Mudun, Lin Shu has had a cultivation goal. In order to meet the conditions for practicing the theory of martial soul explosion and to absorb high-level soul rings, strong physical fitness is necessary. Like yesterday, Lin Shu started running circles around the small hill early in the morning, until he was exhausted and asked himself to run a few more laps before finishing. After taking a break from the lap, Lin Shu took a break and lifted the bar to take a horse stance. Starting from today, he has made several new attempts in his physical exercise, including practicing backflips, forward flips, ground running, handstands, and lower back movements, as well as jumping left and right. These trainings are aimed at improving physical flexibility and making oneself more agile in dodging and attacking. I am also not afraid of falling or spraining while practicing these actions, because while the dark blue-silver grass devours other blue-silver grasses, its health attributes will automatically repair the soul master's own injuries and allow the consumed physical strength to recover quickly. With this benefit, Lin Shu can regularly engage in exercises that consume a lot of physical energy, and continue to exercise when his physical strength reaches its limit. This not only enhances his physical fitness, but also has a good exercise effect on his endurance and willpower. After exhaustion of physical strength, meditate and devour the surrounding blue-silver grass. Once the strength and injury recover, continue practicing punching and kicking movements. Although he has not yet considered what soul skills he wants to acquire, nor has he decided whether to use the auxiliary or control system, Lin Shu believes that no matter which direction he is developing in, he must have some combat skills to defend himself. Without any actual combat targets, the surrounding trees became the targets that Lin Shu wanted to knock down. Punch the big tree 1,000 times a day, and you must add an extra 100 punches to the number of punches you punched yesterday. When punching 1,000 times, the explosive force of the big arm driving the small arm to quickly punch can give people a feeling of sweating profusely. This not only exercises the body, but also enhances arm strength, speed, and explosiveness. Yesterday, while helping village elder Jack pick up goods from Tang Hao's blacksmith shop, Lin Shu accidentally overheard Tang Sen asking Tang Hao about issues related to forging. Tang Hao briefly explained to Tang Sen the technique of using a forging hammer to strike iron. Although he didn't quite understand, Lin Shu could understand the general meaning. In short, the technique of exerting force is to start from the ground, use the legs to drive the waist, then use the waist belt to move the back, and use the back belt to move the arms. Each action is to use force to deliver force, and the body's movements almost reach a perfect fit. Just as the whole body's strength converges into the forging hammer, it is already the body using force to exert force, and the force accumulates into the ultimate full force strike. Every time he punches, Lin Shu will use this power technique to swing his fist. He has no one to guide him and doesn't know if the power technique he has pondered is correct. Anyway, just keep punching until you're exhausted. Practice makes perfect. Continuous punching can cause muscle tremors and also help brain cells remember the punching posture. Practicing thousands of times will form physical memory, and when the body is threatened, it will subconsciously make this action. Every time Lin Shu punched the tree, he felt pain. By the 10th punch, his fist had been worn and bleeding from the bark, but he still didn't stop and continued to punch. Abandoned by his biological parents on the Blue Star, bullied when he was a child, and mocked for not having anyone to support him, Lin Shu's heart was stimulated by the cold looks and various unpleasant things he had experienced, which made him almost forget all the pain and keep punching the big tree in front of him. When he was defeated on the Blue Star, he was filled with inexplicable anger and resentment. The feeling of helplessness, and powerlessness made him take the big tree in front of him as an outlet for anger. Crazy punches, each punch hitting the bark heavily, the bleeding fists trembling, and the bloodstains staining the bark red. Until he was exhausted, Lin Shu finally stopped punching and knelt weakly, his hands propped up on the ground. He suppressed the sharp pain in his hands, gritting his teeth with hatred, tears in his eyes from some point on. Poor people must have something to hate. In fact, all anger and unwillingness stem from jealousy and envy. Lin Shu envies those who have a happy family, those who have received higher education, and those who are talented and have boundless prospects. Because I have high goals but low skills, I have many things I want, but I never strive for them. Whenever something unpleasant happens to me, I only use hard luck and misfortune as excuses to escape reality. I never thought about whether it was because I lacked the ability and didn't work hard enough that I would encounter obstacles. Self-deception and blame towards others. It is an emotion that Lin Shu often experiences when living on Blue Star, and only in this way can he forget the fact that he is very weak and not at all competitive. The feeling of being tormented by various pressures in life without anyone to confide in has been suppressed for too long. Returning to the age of 6, Lin Shu still lacks the joy of childhood. However, this time, starting from childhood, he will no longer complain about others or have high expectations but low abilities. He will rely on his own efforts to strive for what he wants. What you cannot get is not that God is not good enough for you, but that your desires are not strong enough, and the efforts you put in are far from enough to get it. The dark blue silver grass suddenly emerged from the ground, and a few black leaves gently caressed Lin Shu's slightly trembling hand on the ground. The dark breath was released from the leaves, healing the blood-stained fingers with strong vitality. The fingers that were rubbed and bleeding from the bark healed under the nourishment of the dark atmosphere, and the bloodstains disappeared. The broken skin of the fingers also healed, and there was no more intense pain. It seemed that all kinds of negative emotions, including anger, hatred, and jealousy, were swallowed up by the dark blue silver grass martial soul. Lin Shu took a deep breath and slowly exhaled, feeling refreshed all over. After finishing his morning exercise, Lin Shu sat cross-legged on the ground, closed the curtain and focused. He began to cultivate soul power using his meditation and devouring attributes. The dark aura of the dark blue-silver grass spreads with the wind, infecting every leaf of the surrounding blue-silver grass. Lin Shu was not in a hurry to activate the devouring attribute to devour the energy of the blue-silver grass, but instead made a new attempt. Through these 2 days of cultivation, he not only proficiently applied the recovery ability of the dark blue-silver grass soul, but also gained a better understanding of the devouring attribute. The devouring attribute of dark blue-silver grass does not necessarily completely devour the opponent's life energy. It is controllable and can control the amount of energy swallowed back based on consciousness. That is to say, when wanting to devour a certain plant of blue-silver grass, Lin Shu can only consume 2/3 of the energy of this plant, leaving 1/3 of the energy to keep this plant alive. For example, the dark blue-silver grass collected 10 life energies from 10 blue-silver grass plants. Next, the dark blue-silver grass returned these 10 life energies to support the growth of those 10 blue-silver grass plants. And after receiving the returned life energy, those 10 blue-silver grass plants can quickly return to their original state with their strong vitality. At this moment, the dark blue-silver grass collected the 10 life energies from the 10 blue-silver grass plants that had been restored to their original state. Then return it back, take it away, and return it again. Repeatedly doing so can create a cycle of life between the dark blue-silver grass and other blue-silver grasses. What are the benefits of doing this? The life cycle formed by the dark blue-silver grass and other blue-silver grass is equivalent to a barrier containing strong vitality. This barrier will serve as a simulated training ground and have a miraculous effect on the soul power cultivation of soul masters. Mimictic cultivation refers to simulating the growth environment of soul beasts corresponding to martial souls, allowing soul masters to cultivate their martial souls in the most suitable environment for themselves. The boundary of the cycle of life breath simulates the life lake in the core area of the starry forest. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Benefits of life breath cycle barrier. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Benefits of life breath cycle barrier. The lake of life itself contains an incredibly vast aura of life. If soul beasts practice on its edge, the speed of advanced cultivation will be doubled. It is precisely for this reason that soul beasts with a cultivation level of 100,000 years or even higher will always be born around the lake of life. The 100,000-year-old soul beast hegemony Tianqing bull python and titan ape that emerged during the D period lived near the lake of life. After the deaths of these two overlords, the three brothers of the Qianjun Ant Emperor and other powerful eternal soul beasts all wanted to occupy the lake of life, because the lake of life contains an incredibly huge breath of life, making it a paradise for soul beasts to cultivate. These days, Lin Shu has been pondering the feasibility of the previous theory of martial soul explosion, while also searching for the most suitable cultivation method for himself. Recently, he has been practicing by devouring the blue-silver grass. He found that the body cultivation of the blue-silver grass is generally low and it has very little energy, but the innate vitality of the blue-silver grass is extremely strong. Instead of devouring the energy of the tiny particles of blue-silver grass, it is better to use its strong vitality to build a simulated cultivation environment, which saves the need to change places to devour blue-silver grass every time. Since it is currently not possible to rely on devouring ability as the main means of cultivation, then use devouring ability as a supplement to maximize the benefits of life attributes. So Lin Shu thought of the life cycle boundary simulated using the Lake of Life as a prototype. The higher the cultivation level of blue-silver grass, the greater the vitality contained in the life cycle barrier formed, and the better the effect of assisting cultivation. Lin Shu can choose the most suitable place to build a life cycle boundary based on the strength of the dark blue-silver grass itself and the number of blue-silver grass growing in a certain place as a reference. In this barrier, Lin Shu can absorb the vigorous life energy contained within the barrier through meditation, and then convert it into his own soul power together with natural energy from the outside world, in order to accelerate the speed of soul power enhancement. The life-breath cycle barrier is based on the devouring attribute of the dark blue-silver grass, which other blue-silver grass soul masters cannot achieve. It can be said that the life-breath cycle barrier is a high-level soul power cultivation method exclusive to Lin Shu. Even other blue-silver grass soul masters cannot obtain auxiliary cultivation effects from it, unless it also has the devouring attribute. 3 months later. At the beginning of dawn, 4-year-old Tang San would climb to the mountaintop and use the morning sunlight to cultivate the purple extreme magic eyes. At the foot of the mountain, Lin Shu can be seen running every day. I don't know how many laps he ran around the small hill, but Lin Shu vaguely felt that he had become stronger. It has been 3 months since the awakening of the martial soul, which also means that he has gone through 3 months of hard cultivation. Compared to 3 months ago, Lin Shu's endurance and physical strength have significantly increased, as if he is a vibrant blue-silver grass. There is always a huge vitality in his body that self-recovers the energy he expends, and no matter how many laps he runs, he will not feel tired. It wasn't until he was tired of running that Lin Shu finished his lap training. He didn't need to rest and continued practicing the pull-up and horse step, push-ups, sit-ups, as well as the back somersaults and ground running movements. After 3 months of practice, Lin Shu's skills have become very agile. He almost climbed up the mountaintop several hundred meters high with a few jumps, then found a mountain road with many trees and stones, and ran down the mountain with the fastest speed. Whenever he encounters rocks or other obstacles while running down the mountain, Lin Shu can easily avoid these obstacles with just one flip, one jump, or one side spin. Once, he even managed to cross 10 large trees in one breath and reach the foot of the mountain without blushing or panting. Tang San, who had just finished his cultivation at the mountaintop, couldn't help but frown upon seeing this scene. At first, he felt that Lin Shu wanted to sneak a peek at him practicing martial arts and had intended to kill someone to silence him. But later on, Tang San realized that Lin Shu had no idea that he was also practicing at the mountaintop, and that he had made a big fuss out of nothing. If anyone could see the changes in Lin Shu over the past few months, it would probably be only Tang San. With the help of the purple extreme magic eyes, Tang San could sneak a peek at Lin Shu's practice from a very distant and secretive place. He knew that Lin Shu was the only child in the village who had awakened his innate soul power. Tang San was somewhat interested in the novel term, innate soul power, but due to face-saving reasons, he did not ask Lin Shu. Tang San didn't think it was necessary to ask because he was practicing Xiantian Gong and didn't have time to interact with others. I don't have time to study anything else. To Tang San's surprise, 3 months ago he watched Lin Shu roll all the way from the mountaintop to the foot of the mountain. Now, Lin Shu seems to have used some kind of mysterious footwork, with a light and agile body, able to move forward and backward freely, easily passing through countless obstacles, and safely reaching the foot of the mountain. However, Tang San could see through the meticulous gaze of the purple extreme magic eyes that the breath in Lin Shu's body flowed through every meridian in a disorderly manner, without any regularity. Obviously, this could not be some kind of cultivation method. Lin Shu's skills became so agile just because he adapted to long-term training. Tang San didn't peek for too long. After finishing his cultivation, He ran down another mountain road and hurried back to the village to make breakfast for his father. In the afternoon. After taking a nap in the middle of the afternoon, Lin Shu arrived at a clearing under the hill full of energy, where blue-silver grass of varying heights grew everywhere. Since the development of the more advanced cultivation method of life-breath cycle barrier, Lin Shu's soul power cultivation has become much easier and his cultivation speed has also increased. When awakening the martial soul, the innate soul power of the soul master greatly determines the cultivation speed of the soul master, and the quality of the martial soul determines the upper limit of the soul master's cultivation. Innate soul power is like a receiver. The higher the innate soul power, the faster it absorbs soul power. The lower the speed, the slower the absorption of soul power. Congenital full soul power generally refers to innate level 10 soul power, which represents extremely high cultivation talent. Lin Shu's innate second-level soul power is considered a very, very low talent by soul masters, and even being called a waste by soul masters with high innate soul power is not an exaggeration. Hui Yuhao, the protagonist of the Peerless Tang Dynasty era in the original work, awakened his mutated martial soul spirit eye at the age of 6. His innate soul power was only level 1, and he only cultivated it to level 10 at the age of 11. It is said that Hui Yuhao lived extremely difficult in the Duke's mansion at that time, spending most of his time doing odd jobs or doing other things, with very little time for cultivation. But he was able to improve his soul power by 9 levels in just 5 years. Lin Shu thought to himself that he had a second-level innate soul power, which was 1 level higher than Hui Yuhao's cultivation talent. In the future, besides working as a laborer to earn some money at the Notting Junior Soul Master Academy, most of his time could be used for cultivation. These conditions combined, I should be able to cultivate to level 10 soul power earlier than Hui Yuhao. If Hui Yuhao spent 5 years, then he should only need 3 years. Life-breath cycle barrier. Although it cannot change the innate talent of low soul power or enhance the quality of martial soul, it can allow the martial soul to absorb as much external energy as possible. In other words, using ordinary meditation techniques for cultivation, the energy absorbed by the dark blue silver grass soul from the outside world every day is 1 point. Using the life-breath cycle barrier to assist cultivation, the strong vitality contained within the barrier can increase the energy absorbed by the dark blue silver grass soul from the outside by 3 to 10 points from 1 point. This is related to the number of blue-silver grass that forms the barrier. Increasing the energy absorbed by the martial soul can convert this energy into more soul power. This is the principle that the life-breath cycle barrier can increase cultivation speed. Lin Shu's soul power has been increased from level 2 to level 3 after using the life-breath cycle to cultivate in the barrier for 3 months. Boosting 1 level of soul power in 3 months, based on this cultivation speed, it may not take 3 years. Lin Shu felt that he could break through 10 levels of soul power within 2 years and obtain his first soul ring in life. In addition, there is another benefit of using the life-breath cycle to cultivate in the barrier, which is that you can receive strong life-breath nourishment within the barrier every day. This benefit is no different from long-term soaking in a special medicinal bath, which can make Lin Shu's vitality more tenacious than ordinary people, and his upper limit of physical strength is also higher than others. The tenacious vitality can provide him with an additional safety guarantee when practicing the theory of martial soul explosion in the future. It can be said that at this stage, the life cycle barrier is definitely the most suitable method for cultivation. The next day. After having breakfast, Lin Shu bid farewell to old Jack and other villagers at the village entrance. 3 months have passed, and Notting Junior Soul Master College has begun. Today is the day for new students to report. Carrying the backpack from behind, Lin Shu sat on the ox cart with crops pulled by Uncle Meng and rushed together to Notting City. Tang San, who had just returned to the village after practicing, suddenly saw Lin Shu's departure and couldn't help but wonder, "Grandpa Jack, why did Lin Shu carry his luggage when delivering goods today?" End of this chapter. Chapter 8. 2 years later. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 8. 2 years later, old Jack chuckled and said, Xiao Shu is going to study at the Junior Soul Master Academy in Notting City. In the future, he will be a respected soul master. As he spoke, old Jack looked at the stone in the distance with a palm imprinted on it, and a hint of envy flashed in his eyes. Soul Master. Tang San has been hearing similar words these days. Grandpa Jack, what is a Soul Master? Old Jack touched Tang San's head and said with a smile, Soul Masters are people who have awakened their martial souls and possess soul power. These people can improve their own strength through cultivation. Xiao San, you will be able to participate in the martial soul awakening ceremony in 2 years. I hope you can also awaken your soul power by then. In this way, there will be 2 soul masters in our holy soul village. Soul power. Tang San heard this word not for the first time. What exactly is that? 2 years later. In the southwest of the Tiando Empire, the province of Fasnadan. Holy Soul Village. A few hundred meters away from the village, there is a small hill several hundred meters high. In the past, at the beginning of dawn, one could always see someone running at the foot of the mountain. Since Lin Shu left Holy Soul Village 2 years ago to study at the Junior Soul Master Academy in Notting City, the foothills of the mountain have become much cleaner. I no longer see anyone running down the foot of the mountain in one breath from the mountaintop, nor do I hear anyone punching 1,000 times and making waves of drinking, let alone the sound of their fists hitting trees and the rustling of leaves. The happiest moment for Lin Shu's departure was undoubtedly the blue-silver grass that could be seen everywhere at the foot of the mountain. Because they no longer have to worry about their life energy being deprived by others. Finally able to grow with peace of mind. However, Lin Shu's figure could not be seen at the foot of the mountain, while Tang San, who was practicing on the mountaintop, remained there. 2 years ago, Tang San had a habit of practicing on the mountaintop. Today is no exception. Climbing to the mountaintop, Tang San sat cross-legged, his eyes fixed on the gradually bright sunlight in the east. At this moment, Tang San's eyes suddenly widened, and the eastern sunlight seemed to flash a faint purple aura. The appearance of purple qi. Tang San's mind was completely focused, and his eyes gradually emitted a purple light under the irradiation of purple air. After a moment, Tang San closed his eyes, exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and a white airflow exhaled from his mouth before slowly dissipating. Sitting quietly for a while, Tang Sankai opened his eyes again, with purple light flowing in his eyes, as if he could clearly see flying insects flapping their wings in the distance. With a dejected sigh in his heart, Tang San shook his head helplessly and said, It still doesn't work. My Xiantian Gong still can't break through the bottleneck of the first level. It has been a whole 3 months now. Why on earth? Even the purple extreme demon eyes, which rely on purple qi to come from the east and can only be practiced in the morning, have been improving. Xiantian Gong cannot break through the bottleneck. My Xuanyu hand cannot be further improved. When I was practicing, I didn't seem to have encountered such a situation. Xiantian Gong has a total of 9 levels. Why is this first level so troublesome? Is it because this world is different from the Tangmen world? It has been 6 years since Tang San arrived in this world. He started practicing the unique skills of the Tang sect 2 years ago, but after spending 2 years, he still couldn't break through the bottleneck of the first level of Xiantian Gong, which made him feel confused. 2 years ago, a child named Lin Shu with innate soul power appeared in the village. Tang San had a deep impression of the term innate soul power at the beginning. He remembered that Lin Shu's initial soul power was level 2. A year ago, Lin Shu returned to Holy Soul Village from Notting City and his soul power became level 6. This means that soul power is a type of existence similar to Xiantian Gong, which can break through levels and achieve further improvement. Tang San vaguely remembers the village elder Jack saying that soul power only appears when the martial soul awakens. Those who awaken their martial soul and possess soul power are called soul masters. Soul masters can cultivate soul power to improve their own strength, which can create a significant gap compared to ordinary people. Therefore, soul masters are the most respected profession in the world. Tang San was wondering if he also possessed soul power. Is the inability of Shen Gong to break through the first bottleneck related to the fact that one has not yet awakened their soul power? A few days ago, Old Jack said that today is the day when the village's martial soul awakens. This further aroused Tang San's great interest in the concept of soul power. It's time to go back. Tang San looked at the sky and his thin body took off, running towards the foot of the mountain. Rushing back to the village with a glimmer of anticipation to welcome his martial soul awakening. What is a martial soul? What is soul power? Can this alien awaken his martial soul and innate soul power? Is the inability of Shen Gong to break through the bottleneck related to soul power? Tang San was thinking that today's awakening of martial souls should tell him the answer. Nodding City. Nodding Junior Soul Master Academy. Back Mountain. In the center of a clearing covered in blue-silver grass, sat a boy who looked only 8 or 9 years old. The boy's slightly immature face is not as outstanding, but his facial features are not bad. He has short black hair and is wearing the dark blue school uniform of Nodding Junior College. At this moment, the boy was sitting cross-legged, with his eyes closed and focused. His two palms, pressed together, had a unique blue-silver grass growing in one of their palms. This blue-silver grass is dark blue in color, with a faint black light lingering around the stem that is only half the size of the index finger. The stem is 5 inches long and bears 6 light black leaves on top. The veins on the leaves are deep black, clearly visible. Under the cover of the dark atmosphere, these deep black veins appear to contain some mysterious and eerie patterns. The strong vitality in faint black spread out from each leaf, making the surrounding environment slightly gloomy. This blue-silver grass, full of both darkness and life, is Lin Shu's unique plant weapon soul, the dark blue-silver grass. The boy holding this dark blue-silver grass for cultivation is Lin Shu, who has been studying at Nodding Junior Soul Master Academy for 2 years. As a work student, Lin Shu was assigned to the 7th dormitory. I get along very well with the head of the 7th dormitory, Wang Sheng, and other roommates. 2 years have passed since awakening the dark blue-silver grass martial soul. During the 2 years of further study at Nodding Junior Soul Master Academy, the life and dark attributes of dark blue-silver grass have greatly grown, and the darkness and life aura have become very strong. And Lin Shu's personal growth is even more evident. His soul power has reached level 9, and he still needs 1 level of soul power to break through the bottleneck of level 10 and obtain his first soul ring in life. The innate 2nd level soul power talent can be cultivated to level 9 in just 2 years, thanks to the assistance of the life-breath cycle barrier. Because of this barrier to assist in cultivation, Lin Shu's own vitality became extremely tenacious, and his physical strength was much stronger than that of his peers. The tenacious vitality and vigorous physical strength not only greatly help Lin Shu's physical exercise, but also have unexpected effects in battles. Once, a noble student named Xiao Qinyu from Nodding Junior Soul Master College bullied a working-class student in the cafeteria. As a working-class student, Lin Shu couldn't escape the fate of being bullied. At that time, he wanted to resist, but was stopped by the dormitory boss Wang Sheng, who said it was best not to provoke Xiao Qinyu. Even if he defeated Xiao Qinyu, he would still face various retaliations from him. Why can Xiao Qinyu be so domineering? Wang Sheng said helplessly, because Xiao Qinyu is the son of the Lord of Nodding, a nobleman, and we are just civilians. How can nobles demonstrate their status if they do not suppress the common people? A person with an adult soul is being bullied by a child, which is tolerable but very uncomfortable. In order to cultivate steadily, Lin Shu endured and allowed noble children such as Xiao Qinyu to bully him. After all, this is a world of the jungle. Those weak blue-silver grass can only be devoured by the dark blue-silver grass. Similarly, grass eats grass and people eat people. Weak commoners can only be bullied by nobles. However, human patience is limited. Lin Shu couldn't bear the repeated visits of Xiao Qinyu and others, and was forced to fight against them. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Soul Power Level 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Soul Power Level 9. When Lin Shu first joined the Notting Junior Soul Master Academy, Xiao Qinyu was already in 4th grade, 5 or 6 years older than Lin Shu. His martial soul was a wolf, and he was much better than Lin Shu in both martial soul quality and innate soul power. However, Lin Shu also has an advantage. Before joining the Notting Junior Soul Master Academy, he underwent 3 months of special training, which laid the foundation for him to defeat Xiao Qinyu. At that time, before Xiao Qinyu could use his martial soul, he was knocked unconscious by Lin Shu's angry punch. The next day, Xiao Qinyu and 10 younger brothers came to Qixia to trouble Lin Shu. Despite having some combat skills, Lin Shu still faced a situation where he was unable to defeat the others with a single punch, and unfortunately suffered from a group beating. Wang Sheng and other working-class students saw Lin Shu being bullied and rushed forward, only to be brutally beaten by Xiao Qinyu and others. It was not until Lin Shu and Wang Sheng were beaten down that Xiao Qinyu was willing to give up. Just as he was about to leave with his 10 younger brothers, Lin Shu, who had been beaten all over, stumbled up. Seeing this scene, Xiao Qinyu smiled instead of being surprised and ordered 10 younger brothers to once again fight Lin Shu. He didn't let his younger brothers stop until he knocked Lin Shu down. Just as Xiao Qinyu was about to leave, Lin Shu stood up again with his tenacious vitality. And this time, Lin Shu's wounds miraculously healed, his injuries healed, and his physical strength returned to its best state. The 10 little brothers once again summoned their respective weapon and beast souls and rushed towards Lin Shu. Lin Shu, who had recovered from his injuries and physical strength, wiped away the bloodstains from the corners of his mouth and was defeated by the siege of these 10 young men. After being beaten down every time, Lin Shu always stood up with a strong breath of life. In the end, the 10 little brothers were knocked unconscious by Lin Shu's fist due to physical exhaustion. Seeing 10 younger brothers defeated and only himself left, Xiao Qinyu panicked. When he fled, he was chased back by Lin Shu and then beaten up. This was Lin Shu's first battle, and as a result, he was elected as the leader of the 7 houses by Wang Sheng. Afterwards, Xiao Qinyu led dozens of younger brothers to seek revenge against Lin Shu. Without exception, no matter how many people came, Lin Shu was able to defeat his opponents with his tenacious vitality and strong physical strength, and finally gave the decisive punch. In order to vent his anger, Xiao Qinyu sought revenge from a great soul master in his family. However, the great soul master was dismissed by Din Ding and he said, the child's conflict should be resolved by the child, and no adult should be allowed to intervene. As a soul sect, Din Ding has a considerable reputation in the city of Notting, and his strength is naturally not weak if he can become a dean. Although Xiao Qinyu was the son of the Lord of Notting City, he dared not take the risk of offending Din Ding. Therefore, he swallowed his anger and dared not provoke Lin Shu again. It was also because after several fights with Xiao Qinyu, Lin Shu not only gained the attention of Din Ding, but also gained a deeper understanding of the attributes of life. The life-breath cycle barrier is not only as simple as assisting cultivation, but also subtly makes the life attributes of every cell in the body as powerful as blue-silver grass. Just activate the devouring ability of the dark attribute. Without any soul skills, Lin Shu can promote the repair of every cell in the body by devouring the energy of the surrounding blue-silver grass, thereby achieving the effect of recovering injuries and stamina. In other words, a place with a lot of blue-silver grass is no different from a natural realm of life for Lin Shu. At this moment, Wang Sheng brought his roommates from Qixia to the back mountain. The new semester has begun. Lin Shu was promoted to 3rd grade, and Wang Sheng and these roommates were already 6th grade students. They will graduate in another year and pursue further education at the Intermediate Soul Master Academy. As soon as they arrived at the empty space behind the mountain, Wang Sheng and other roommates saw Lin Shu sitting on the ground meditating. "Boss, you are indeed here," a roommate shouted happily. Wang Sheng suddenly stopped and reached out to signal everyone to stop. "Don't argue, everyone. Lin Shu is practicing, don't disturb him." After listening to this sentence, the roommates realized that there was a faint black airflow lingering around Lin Shu's body, which was an energy fluctuation that he would experience in his daily cultivation. Wang Sheng and others didn't know what kind of cultivation method this was, but they just heard from Lin Shu that the blue-silver grass martial soul cultivates in places with more blue-silver grass, absorbing natural energy from the outside world while also absorbing the life breath released by other blue-silver grass, thereby increasing the cultivation speed. For this statement, Wang Sheng and others do not doubt it. After all, they have not seen anyone who awakens the blue-silver grass soul possess soul power, let alone how the blue-silver grass soul master cultivates it. Let's go. Let's go back to the dormitory first. Wang Sheng clenched his fist and said with a fighting spirit in his eyes, "After cleaning up, we'll also go to the college playground to practice. We're all working-class students, so we can't fall behind." The other roommates nodded and quietly followed the same route back to the dormitory. During the holiday, Wang Sheng and others returned to their respective villages to reunite with their families. In order to break through the level 10 bottleneck as soon as possible, Lin Shu has been practicing in a place with a lot of blue-silver grass in the back mountain, and has not returned to the Holy Soul village to reminisce with old Jack. However, as the holiday passed, Lin Shu's soul power remained at level 9. Soul Masters want to break through the bottleneck of every 10 levels. In addition to hard work, the most important thing is talent. The cultivation of blue-silver grass is not easy in itself. As his soul power gradually increases, Lin Shu's cultivation speed also slows down, and the golden period of cultivation before the age of 20 is indirectly shortened. This is the cultivation limit caused by poor martial soul quality and low innate soul power. To increase his cultivation limit, Lin Shu can only rely on opportunities similar to immortal grass, or seize the blue-silver emperor's bloodline. Alternatively, enhance the devouring attribute of the dark blue-silver grass and cultivate as a fallen soul master. In this mystical world where the strong are revered, Lin Shu does not have any concept of distinction between good and evil. If he can make himself stronger and change his previous fate of suffering, he is willing to do anything. However, the devouring ability of the dark blue-silver grass is still too weak, and it cannot devour the lives of other species except for the blue-silver grass. Moreover, the energy swallowed back from other species needs to be converted, otherwise the accumulation of too much different types of energy in the human body will definitely lead to self-backlash or unstable foundations. Now, Lin Shu has no conditions to obtain immortal grass, nor the ability to steal the blue-silver emperor's bloodline, nor does he want to blindly cultivate the dark devouring attribute without any rules and regulations. He just wants to take advantage of the golden period of cultivation and the assistance of the life cycle barrier to bury his head and practice hard, and quickly reach level 10 of his soul power. Even in a place full of blue-silver grass and mountains, where one constructs a life cycle barrier to cultivate, the soul power that has been stuck at level 9 for the 3 months of the holiday still shows no signs of breaking through. With a dejected sigh in his heart, Lin Shu felt an inexplicable pressure. Tang San had just entered the Nodding Junior Soul Master Academy with level 10 soul power. On the other hand, I spent 2 years at Nodding Junior Soul Master Academy before reaching level 9 soul power. After graduating from college, I only managed to hold on to more than 10 levels of soul power. After Tang San graduated, his soul power had reached level 29. In this comparison, Lin Shu's heart became increasingly uneasy. Desire is infinite. Even if he studies the life cycle barrier to assist in cultivation, he still cannot meet the cultivation speed he wants to achieve. Nowadays, talent is too poor, and if we don't fundamentally solve the problem, we will never be able to compare with Tang San. Why should we seize the opportunity to compete with Tang San? Lin Shu also knows the principle that haste makes waste, but time waits for no one. 2 years have passed, and Tang San is now 6 years old. The start of the new semester not only means that Lin Shu has advanced to 3rd grade, but also means that Tang San is about to enter the Notting Junior Soul Master Academy to study. The plot of the original work begins unconsciously. In the early stages of the original work, there were opportunities such as the 100,000-year-old soul beast Xiaowu, the 8 spider spears with attached soul bones, and various immortal herbs. With Tang Hao present, Lin Shu dare not have any connection with Xiaowu. It doesn't matter whether the 8 spider spears with outer soul bones can be snatched. Lin Shu only hopes to obtain the 2 ice and fire immortal grasses mentioned in the original work. Apart from the blue-silver emperor bloodline and practicing through devouring attributes, they are definitely the key to improving talent. Notting City, Notting Junior Soul Master Academy. Dean's office. Dean Ding is sitting behind the desk, reviewing the materials submitted by the returning students. Every year when school starts, new students report and old students return to school. New students are required to submit a proof of enrollment application, while older students are also required to submit a vacation summary, so that teachers can know the spiritual changes of each student in the previous year and during the vacation period. With this holiday summary, it is more conducive for the college to select the best student in the new semester to give praise and focus on training. Flipping through the information cards nailed together, Dean Ding frowned slightly and a hint of doubt appeared in his eyes when he saw the vacation summary submitted by Lin Shu. 2 years ago, when Lin Shu Gang joined Notting Junior Soul Master College, the new student enrollment materials he submitted read: Martial Soul Blue Silver Grass, Innate Soul Power Level 2, Soul Power increased by 1 level after 3 months of cultivation, Soul Power Level 3 upon enrollment, Wholesale Certificate of Martial Soul Hall, and joining the college as a working student. A year ago, when Lin Shu finished 1st grade, he submitted a summary of his senior student's vacation, which read: Martial Soul Blue Silver Grass, Soul Power Level 6. Now, after finishing 2nd grade, Lin Shu has submitted a vacation summary that reads: Martial Soul Blue Silver Grass, Soul Power Level 9. Even for other martial souls, Dean Ding was not surprised, but unfortunately, it was the Martial Soul Blue Silver Grass, a talent with innate 2nd level soul power, that could improve 7th level soul power in 2 years. What is the cultivation speed? Dean Ding believes that it's not just him, but anyone who sees this holiday summary is almost as confused or even surprised as him. 2 years ago, when there were several brawls between Lin Shu and Xiao Qinyu, Dean Ding had already noticed Lin Shu. He remembered that although Lin Shu's martial soul was a blue-silver grass, it belonged to a mutated martial soul, but he did not reveal this secret to outsiders. Is the amazing cultivation speed brought about by the benign mutation of the martial soul? Dean Ding held his pipe with a thought-provoking light in his eyes. The martial soul mutation. It seems that only by inviting him can we help me clarify. After a long time, a middle-aged man walked into the dean's office. Is there anything you want to do with me? The middle-aged man asked. Dean Ding placed his pipe on the table and stood up, saying, Xiao Gang, I have something to show you. I believe you must be very interested. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Soul Power Breakthrough Level 10. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Soul Power Breakthrough Level 10. Oh. The middle-aged man calmly said, What is it? Dean Ding handed a data card to the middle-aged man. Taking the data card, the middle-aged man glanced at it, and his somewhat lazy and decadent expression immediately turned into surprise. Lin Shu, Martial Soul Blue Silver Grass, Innate Soul Power Level 2. With this talent, can one cultivate to level 9 soul power in 2 years? Seeing the expression on the middle-aged man's face at this moment, Dean Ding smiled knowingly and said, There's nothing wrong. The soul power reported in the holiday summary must pass the soul power ball test of the college, so students cannot falsify it. Xiao Jiang, do you have an impression? 2 years ago, when you asked me for new student information, there was information about Lin Shu, a child. I remember seeing that blue-silver grass's martial soul could have innate second-level soul power, and you also had the same expression. Not bad, the middle-aged man said solemnly. I once investigated 647 people whose martial souls are blue-silver grass. Among them, 16 have soul power, with a chance of less than 3%. Even among these 16 people who possess soul power, none of them have soul power that can exceed level 1. So when I saw the martial soul blue-silver grass, which has innate level 2 soul power, I was surprised. According to one of the top 10 core competencies of martial souls that I have researched, the size of innate soul power is directly proportional to the quality of martial souls. This is Lin Shu's child. Martial souls indeed only have blue-silver grass, but normal blue-silver grass should not be able to awaken innate second-level soul power. Therefore, I can be certain that his blue-silver grass has undergone a benign mutation. As I expected, that child's blue-silver grass is indeed a mutated martial soul. At this point, the middle-aged man shook his head with some regret and said, unfortunately. So far, I don't know what ability or attribute his blue-silver grass has mutated into. Xiao Gang, you are a master of theory. Since you want to understand him so much, why not take him as a disciple? Dean Ding reminded, the blue-silver grass martial soul can have innate second-level soul power, which is of great research value in itself. Now it has been increased by 7 levels of soul power in 2 years. If this news spreads, Lin Shu may be targeted by those sect forces. Anyway, you are a member of the Blue Electric Tyrant Dragon sect and an honorary elder of the Martial Soul Hall. With your protection as a teacher, the people of those sects will give some face. Upon hearing this sentence, the middle-aged man remained silent for a moment before shaking his head. A hint of complexity flashed in his eyes and he did not speak. The middle-aged man's name is Yu Xiaojiang. He was originally the son of the leader of the Blue Electric Tyrant Dragon sect, but he was expelled from the sect due to his extremely poor cultivation talent due to the malignant mutation of his martial soul. The so-called honorary elder of the Martial Soul Hall is only in terms of reputation, without the support of the female pope. Her current position in the Martial Soul Hall is just a joke. Now Yu Xiaojiang is almost forgetting his name, only remembering that he is known as the invincible theoretical master by the world. Since I am a theoretical master, I naturally have a great interest in the study of martial souls. Yu Xiaojiang has been living at Notting Junior Soul Master College for so long, and has never considered becoming a teacher at the college. He just wants to rely on his relationship with Dean Ding to quickly review the material submitted by each new student. In these new student materials, you can know what each new student's martial soul is and how much their innate soul power is. With his various theoretical knowledge, Yu Xiaojiang can infer the potential of each new student from their martial soul and soul power. If there is a new student with great potential who can be trained as a disciple, then when this disciple becomes famous in the future, he can also prove to the world that his theory is correct. 2 years ago, upon seeing the new student materials submitted by Lin Shu, Yu Xiaojiang guessed that Lin Shu's blue-silver grass should have undergone a benign mutation, which is why he has innate second-level soul power. Once, Yu Xiaojiang intentionally strolled around the college playground and happened to see Lin Shu release his blue-silver grass martial soul. And the blue-silver grass that appeared dark blue all over made Yu Xiaojiang confirm that his guess was correct. That is indeed a mutated martial soul. In order to find out what abilities had mutated from Lin Shu's blue-silver grass martial soul, Yu Xiaojiang intentionally created a chance encounter with Lin Shu, but unfortunately, they were unable to extract the secret of this mutated blue-silver grass martial soul from Lin Shu's mouth. If Lin Shu is accepted as a disciple, he can study his blue-silver grass martial soul in a legitimate manner. However, Lin Shu's innate second-level soul power talent made Yu Xiaojiang dispel this idea. He has already been ridiculed by others because he is a useless person. If he accepts another low soul power blue-silver grass soul master as his disciple, and this disciple's future achievements can only be a slightly better useless person than himself, wouldn't it be even more ridiculed? During my time living at Notting Junior Soul Master Academy, I have been treated as a joke by the faculty and director, and the feeling of being teased by others is not easy. So, for the past 2 years, Yu Xiaojiang has never taken any action to recruit Lin Shu as his disciple. Now seeing that Lin Shu has such great potential to cultivate level 7 soul power in just 2 years, Yu Xiaojiang feels a bit regretful. If Lin Shu were his disciple 2 years ago, then with such an astonishing growth rate now, others would surely think that his master taught him well. Even if this doesn't prove their theory, it can still silence those at Notting College who treat themselves as jokes. Xiaojiang, do you have any ideas? Dean Ding suggested as Yu Xiaojiang fell into contemplation. No one on the mainland knows more about martial souls like blue-silver grass than you do. Lin Shu is also a hardworking and studious child. With your theoretical guidance and his efforts, there may be a genius blue-silver grass soul master on the mainland in the future. Cultivate a soul master who has abandoned martial souls into a genius and prove your theory to the whole continent. Isn't this your persistent obsession that you can't let go of? You're right, Yu Xiaojiang seemed to have figured it out, with a burning look in his eyes. Maybe I should stick to it for a while. You can go to the back mountain later. Dean Ding put Lin Shu's vacation summary on the table, picked up his pipe, and said, Lin Shu hasn't returned to the village during the vacation. He has been living in the mountains. I guess he wants to break through the bottleneck of level 10 as soon as possible. Xiao Gang, go and take a look. Maybe you will be the benefactor who helps him break through the bottleneck. Isn't it natural to take him as an apprentice? Upon hearing this, a strange expression flashed in Yu Xiaojiang's eyes. With both hands on his back, he said lightly, okay, I'll go and see how he practices. If this child meets my expectations, it's not a bad idea to take him as his disciple. Notting Junior Soul Master Academy. Back Mountain. On the empty ground covered with blue-silver grass. Centered around Lin Shu, the light black airflow rotates clockwise, forming a vortex that carries both the aura of darkness and life. The blue-silver grass growing in a radius of tens of meters shows signs of withering and exhaustion due to being consumed by the dark atmosphere contained in the black vortex, which has consumed most of its life energy. Strangely enough, these blue-silver grasses did not truly wither and die. Whenever the vitality weakens to a certain extent, the dark breath no longer devours the life energy of these blue-silver grasses, but instead returns the swallowed life energy to them. Obtaining their lost life energy, and relying on their powerful life attributes, the withered and depleted blue-silver grass stood up again in a moment of breathlessness, regaining its vitality as if nothing had happened. Subsequently, the revitalized blue-green grass was affected by the dark atmosphere and withered, then regained its vitality, withered again, and regained its vitality, repeating this change. In this process of change, there will be a large number of fluctuations in life breath, and these life breath will circulate back and forth between the dark blue-silver grass held by Lin Shu and the large number of blue-silver grass growing around, forming a strong life breath boundary. In the eyes of outsiders, the light black airflow revolving slowly like a vortex around Lin Shu is actually the massive life breath contained within the boundary of the life breath cycle. With the assistance of such surging life breath, the energy absorbed by Lin Shu from the outside will greatly increase, and the energy converted into his own soul power will also increase, naturally accelerating the speed of soul power increase. Leaving the dean's office, Yu Xiaojiang arrived at the back mountain of the college and gazed in surprise at Lin Shu, who was using his life breath to cycle and cultivate in the barrier. How could Yu Xiaojiang, who has studied theory for decades, not be able to see what others cannot see? The blue-silver grass scattered around gathers a strong vitality. Under human control, these vitality move in a certain pattern, clearly simulating the growth of soul beasts like blue-silver grass and constructing a simulated cultivation environment. At this moment, Yu Xiaojiang finally understood why Lin Shu was only a natural second-level soul power talent, but could improve his 7th-level soul power in just 2 years. Originally, it was all due to the cultivation of mimicry. Mimic cultivation allows soul masters to cultivate their martial souls in the most suitable environment for themselves. After the soul master's soul power reaches level 30, the effect of mimetic cultivation will be more obvious. Because level 30 is a watershed for soul masters, after breaking through, soul masters will develop a more sensitive sense of energy that is similar to their own attributes. Generally, only advanced soul masters colleges will offer mimicry training centers, and only advanced soul masters who have reached level 30 of soul power can maximize the effectiveness of mimicry training. Soul masters with soul power below level 30 do not have a strong perception of energy that is similar to their own attributes, so the effect of mimicry cultivation is naturally poor. However, Lin Shu only has level 9 soul power, but he can obtain such a large auxiliary effect in a simulated cultivation environment like a soul master after level 30. What does this mean? Yu Xiaojiang already had an answer in his heart, which must be related to the mutated blue-silver grass martial soul. Suddenly, the black vortex formed around Lin Shu slowly contracted until it entered his body. A sense of strength and fullness arose naturally, and Lin Shu felt light all over. The surging soul power overflowed from within, forming a circle of light black ripples spreading outward. This is a sign of increased soul power. After spending a whole holiday practicing, Lin Shu finally broke through the bottleneck and increased his soul power from level 9 to level 10. End of this chapter.